Sansa was that girl. We were bawling so hard. Let me explain to you guys what happened the day she died, okay? It's Vaughn, and today is a not so vlog type of video. As you can tell by the title, I have some bad news to share, and I really just wanted to come on and tell you guys what happened. I posted some short form content on Instagram and YouTube Shorts letting you guys know what happened, and I noticed that I did attract some new viewers that are not part of my regular audience, so I'm gonna assume the same thing may or may not happen to this video. So I'll just start off by saying, if you're new, my name is Vaughn. I'm a YouTube blogger. My content is about family, lifestyle, and travel. We had a family dog for the past 8 years. My dog's name was Sansa Girl, and she was an 8-year-old cane Corso or cane Corso, or however you want to pronounce it. She was a great dog. She was the best dog I've ever known. Most, if not all, of my audience here also kind of shared those same sentiments. And I wanted to do this video because I knew that you guys had questions and some of you even had speculations. I'm hoping this video will be more of a tribute to Sansa, but also educational, because there are some things that we learned along the way, and I'm gonna share that stuff with you guys today. This video is gonna be a little choppy because I'm trying to film with a little 2-year-old running around, so I'm trying to keep an ear out for her while also having a little bit of quiet in here. So I might have to stop, jump out, jump back in. So yeah, the video is gonna be a little choppy. So in short, Sansa passed away by way of euthanasia because she had terminal cancer. We only knew she was sick for a few months, and we knew what our options were, so we knew that the day was coming that we were going to have to put her down. We were really just putting it off, and we did put it off for as long as we could, while still staying within humane parameters. We did not want her to suffer any more than she already was. So to take it all back from the beginning, it all started with a limp. I noticed the limp. It was kind of disturbing for me because I'm like, she hasn't had an injury that we know of. And then I started thinking, well, maybe she got hurt and we didn't know it. But it was very concerning, and I told Anthony about it. I told my dad about it, and they were both saying it's probably nothing because the limp was just a mild limp. It also went away after about a week. In retrospect, now I'm realizing what that was all about, but at the time we were thinking it was just an innocent issue that maybe a big dog would have because she was so heavy. At her heaviest and her healthiest, she was 125 pounds. So we just thought that it was a symptom of her weight. Around this time, we were doing a lot of traveling. Sansa was spending a lot of time at my dad's house whenever we would travel because my dad had offered, and he really loved Sansa and spending time with her. That's important to note because she was spending a lot of time away from us. So me and my husband weren't able to really observe her as much as we probably wish that we could have in retrospect. A lot of this is gonna be told through hindsight. So after the limp, she seemed to be doing fine. It wasn't until she had kind of stopped eating for a period that I knew something was wrong. During the time that she wasn't eating well, I also noticed that her stomach seemed a little bit big, okay? I'm editing this video right now, and I just want to pop in with some additional context. I let the limp slide, but once I noticed that there was a growth, I went to Google, and Google told me she had cancer. The whole no eating thing was, of course, making her lose weight and making the tumor more visible, because before that, we just simply didn't notice. But my dad and husband were in denial. My husband said, no, her stomach's always looked like that. But after I did the research, I started just noticing everything was consistent with what Google was telling me, including the labored breathing at night. So when we took her to the vet, that was one of the things that we wanted to point out. Can you please focus on that when you examine her? So the vet did an ultrasound, and sure enough, he found a tumor. The tumor was extremely large. He knew that whatever it was aggressive in order to grow to that size, but he couldn't be sure whether or not it was benign or malignant without doing a blood panel. I couldn't go to the vet at the time because I was home with the kids, so I had my husband to FaceTime me while he was there. So I was kind of screen recording the whole thing just to have a record of everything that was going on, trying to process all the different technical terms and all of the options. It was a lot to take in the moment, and especially difficult for my husband. So that's why I knew I needed to be on FaceTime. Once we got all the information back, she was essentially diagnosed with osteosarcoma in her hind leg, which had spread to her abdomen, causing her cancer to be terminal. The vet wasn't telling us not to do surgery, but he was telling us not to do surgery. He didn't know how much time she had left, but the tumor did not appear to be operable. And even if we had decided to go that route, they couldn't guarantee that she would even survive the surgery and what the recovery would look like, and if her quality of life would decline dramatically. Me just kind of doing my own research and seeing what other pet owners were saying, it didn't sound like something that we wanted for Sansa. So we made the tough decision to move forward with palliative care for Sansa, and we brought her home and just focused on keeping her comfortable. Before we left the vet, we did talk to him about pain management. The good news with all of this though is that from what the vet could observe, he said Sansa was not in pain. The only thing he was concerned with was the limp, which we had already told him had gone away. Now, to be fair, with the Corso breed, they have a tendency to mask pain really well, which is one of the saddest parts of this whole experience for us, because we couldn't really tell if Sansa was in pain because she was just so wired to be strong and to still show up in the ways that she thought we wanted her to. With those dogs, they are estate guardians, right? They will do whatever it takes to protect that family and that home. Even though Sansa was weak and lethargic and really had started to not want to move a lot, she was still trying to protect the house, still trying to protect the kids and do different things that she thought we wanted her or needed her to do. And because I know my dog and I knew she was like that, I did not want to push her at all. I tried my best to not really give her any commands. I tried to even create an environment that she wouldn't have to react to anything. You know, I didn't want people coming over and ringing the bell, and I didn't want, if I had deliveries, I just wanted them to leave it by the mailbox. I didn't even want to get her in, you know, to put her in a position to where she would feel that she needed to protect. I was unsuccessful most of the time, but I did try. Her health was really starting to decline so fast. It seemed like out of nowhere, it just really started to accelerate. You guys wouldn't have noticed it here because of course I'm not recording those things, but some of the things that we noticed is when she stopped running, she wouldn't move fast at all. She would just walk when she needed to, and she was mostly laying down most of the time. Laying down was even kind of uncomfortable for her because she could only lay in certain ways because the tumor was just so large. She had even become uncomfortable laying down because I caught her almost trying to take a nap sitting straight up. In her last days, she also had lost control of her bladder. So we had to do a lot of cleaning up around the house, which is so not like Sansa because she was housebroken at a very early age. So to have her have these really bad accidents around the house, I knew it was because of the tumor. Some of you had even commented that Sansa seemed so healthy and that the passing was so sudden. It was for you guys because you guys were only seeing certain angles and certain parts of Sansa's lifestyle. But for us, we knew. And if you know a lot about the Corso breed, you know a lot about the Mastiff breed, you could look at Sansa and you could tell she was declining. She had lost 25 pounds over the course of the weeks leading up to her vet visit. Her vet was very concerned. As soon as we walked through the door, he was very concerned. He knew something was wrong. You could tell by her face that she had lost a lot of weight. If you know what a Corso at her age is supposed to look like, you could see like kind of a before and after. And she definitely wasn't moving like a healthy dog. She was still trying to do the stairs because you guys know she always wanted to sit at the top of the stairs so she could look out of our big picture window and see who was walking by, you know, to be the estate guardian that she naturally is. So she was still tackling the stairs even with that gigantic tumor, but it was very difficult for her, you could tell, and she was moving very slowly. She was still eating her favorite foods though, like steak and chicken and things like that, but she wasn't eating the way that she's supposed to for her breed. I know a lot of people were mentioning that Sansa was really young to pass, and she was. I do know Corsos who died younger. I know some who died a lot older. I know the average life expectancy is 7 to 11 years, if I'm not not mistaken, Sansa was 8. So technically she was considered a senior. And once they become seniors, you really want to start taking them to the vet twice a year. We were still taking her only once a year because we really didn't know. And it's not like the vet sent us a letter or something reminding us that our dog is now of age to start coming twice a year. So that's something that if I could go back, I would change. We were still just taking her for her yearly checkups. And of course they missed the cancer growth. And so I've just been really like emotionally drained. I just have to be honest. I haven't wanted to vlog and post anything. I actually had attempted to vlog a couple days after her passing, and then just in the middle of talking to you guys, I just turned the camera off and just stopped because it just wasn't feeling right. It wasn't the same. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Ava is right here, so hopefully she'll be quiet. What was I saying? Oh yeah, how all of this has been impacting the family. The kids are looking for her. They think that she's just out back, going on a walk with Anthony. Hey, sweet baby. They don't understand. My 9-year-old is nonverbal, but my 2-year-old was just starting to say Sansa's name. She called her Shasha, right? And they would play together and they were really starting to bond. So it's been very difficult for us adults seeing that and having to deal with that loss. Me and Anthony have both been emotionally drained. For both of us, which is really interesting, this is our first time losing a pet of our own. When I was a little girl, I was, I think, like 7 years old. My mom had a little poodle that passed away. You know, as kids, we were sad because we lost our little playmate. But let me just tell you, it is not the same thing as having your own pet, your own dog is of all species, okay, to pass away on you. It's a totally different experience that I was not prepared for. When we knew that we were gonna have to put Sansa down, I was almost emotionally unfazed. I was like, this is what needs to be done. She's, you know, we're not gonna let her suffer. We're going to monitor her condition over time. And when it gets to the point where she's starting to suffer, we're going to put her down and we're gonna be fine. That's how my mind was processing it. I'm usually a really logical person. I'm very rational. I did not expect to feel the way that I felt in the wake of Sansa's death. Absolutely. If you would have told me, there's no way I could have guessed it. We have been in here struggling, you guys, struggling. The first couple of days after Sansa passed were the worst of it. I'm in a much better place now, but those first couple of days, let me explain to you guys what happened the day she died, okay? So Ava, get down. So Anthony has scheduled an appointment for the euthanasia, okay? Because like I said, once she had lost control of her bladder, that's when we knew things were at a point of no return. She has spent the last 2 days mostly outside because of that reason. Those days you guys witnessed because I was doing a lot of work in the yard. Sansa was always with me whenever I was doing my spring refresh and everything. So it worked out great that I could still be with her. And she was just chilling. She was enjoying it. She didn't really notice the difference because this is something that we did every year anyway. So Anthony had made the appointment and it was early in the morning. So we had just gotten up. I was getting the girls breakfast and he was gonna be heading out with her. I made sure I gave her hugs and kisses. I didn't go with Anthony, obviously. The girls, you know, gave her the hugs and kisses and they headed out. There was a part of me psychologically that was thinking he's going to be bringing her right back. He's going to get over there and it's going to be a problem with the appointment. They're going to be overbooked. He's going to change his mind and he's going to be bringing her back. Somewhere in my mind, I was kind of relying on that. A couple hours went by and he returned alone, with her collar in his hand. And when I heard the garage door come up, I was shaking. I was like scared to even go downstairs. And when I went downstairs and I saw him coming in the garage door, his head was all the way down like this, okay? And he was just holding her little pink collar. And I was like, Anthony, I'm so sorry. And he was like, yeah. And then he put her collar on the hook where we normally put it because everything is still set in the house for her. Everything is still the way it's always. He went upstairs and got in the bed. I'm still calm, rational, thinking we made the right choice, we did the right thing. It would have been completely selfish to keep her here and have her suffering. We knew that there was nothing we could do. So I was set in that. My mind was made up. When I came upstairs and I saw Anthony laying in the bed and he was on his phone, I'm just thinking, oh, he's just scrolling social media. He's just decompressing, relaxing, you know, from the stressful morning he just had. That's what I'm thinking. So it wasn't until I came around and I don't know, I was nosy. I just looked at his phone and you guys, he wasn't scrolling social media. He was looking at pictures of Sansa and him together. And I lost it. And I didn't get it back for 3 days. You guys, we were bawling so hard. It was ridiculous. We cried for 3 days straight. I didn't leave the house. My eyes were swollen. I could not stop crying. It was like everything reminded me of Sansa and I was just tore down. I was tore down and I was kind of embarrassed by being so destroyed by the loss of a pet. And I know many of you watching this, you already get it. You lost a pet before. I can tell by the comments on my short form videos. I just never experienced it as with my pet. I've always watched somebody else lose a pet. And I would feel the empathy of like, man, you know, that's gotta hurt. I feel sorry for the person crying and everything. But you don't know until you actually lose your dog. And like I said, I was embarrassed because I didn't want people to see me so tore up over a pet. Because I was embarrassed by it, I also felt isolated because I didn't want to grieve out loud. I knew I had to tell you guys, but I didn't want to like share my grief in the way that I'm sharing it right now. I didn't want to describe it. I didn't want to walk you guys through it. Mostly because there's this feeling that most people won't be able to relate, even though I know you guys can. There's just this feeling that there's gonna be people who can't relate and they're gonna be offended that you're so distraught about an animal. And I also was holding back because in real time, I have friends who have lost loved ones, human loved ones. One of my girlfriends lost her mom, another one lost their brother. So I was even more hesitant to share my grief because, you know, I have friends who need me for the human losses. So I was grieving in silence. It was just me and Anthony up in here holding each other up. And I don't apologize for that. I don't even regret it. I would have never wanted to talk about the loss of my pet while someone else is trying to grieve the loss of their mom or something more serious like that. And it's not about comparing grief. It's just about empathy. So I was just relying on the people in my life who I knew would understand. Moo, okay, that's my little sister. She lost her dog a couple years back. My friend Erin lost her dog a couple years back. My dad lost a dog when I think we weren't even in the world yet. I think he was a lot younger and he lost a dog. It truly is an individual process that you have to either have experienced or not. And I hope that's not offensive. I hope it doesn't take anything away from those of you who have felt deeply hurt by the loss of a friend's dog or a family's dog or something like that. Everything you felt was valid. All I'm saying is that I too thought I knew what it felt like for someone else to lose a dog, and you feel it. I'm a dog lover, so I feel it. But the way it hit me when Sansa left this world, y'all, I just did not expect it. I did not expect it. I'm still kind of like in the emotional trenches, you know, like I'm still not motivated to do things that used to involve thinking of Sansa, thinking of her well-being. So like my patio refresh, just forget it. It's not happening this year, right? I can't bring myself to go out back and participate in the yard cleanup. I'm fine, I promise. I promise I'm fine. I've done a lot of inner work. I'm good. It's just me feeling the emotions again. But when we bought this house, we got Sansa. So like, hold on. All right, I'm gonna get through this because I said I was gonna do it. I can't keep putting this off. I gotta talk about this stuff. Sansa is this house, okay? I never experienced this house without her. You get what I'm saying? So like cleaning up fur and like taking her on walks and like figuring out where she's gonna be when we have company, and the doorbell ringing followed by her barking, us building the fence in the back. It was all because of Sansa girl. So her not being here is just a major rug being snatched from under us. We have to rethink home ownership almost. Because now we're like, okay, who's going to protect our house? Who's going to make sure no one comes in our yard? Who's gonna alert us when someone is approaching us? Sansa was that girl. She was the protector of this house, this property, these kids, okay? And she didn't play. As with any large breed, I always recommend obedience training. Sansa had obedience training right when we got her. She was a puppy and we, you know, took her to be trained. But we also followed up that training with emotional support training because we had found out our daughter was on the spectrum and we wanted her to, one, be able to interact with Sansa in a safe way. We wanted Sansa to understand, and you know, some dogs sometimes take advantage of little kids. They'll snatch food from them and different things, playing too rough, things like that. We wanted to make sure we didn't run into those issues with Sansa because Anne wouldn't be able to tell us, you know, because she's nonverbal. So we wanted Sansa to be trained for that. So I remember Anthony took her to Cook County and she was trained by those emotional support canine trainers. He would take her to work with him a couple days a week and she would have the training, and then in the end she, you know, she was certified, so she had her little certificate. They gave her a little Cook County collar and she was considered, hey baby, she was considered an official emotional support canine. You gotta be quiet, okay? Oh, you sweet girl. Don't touch the camera stand, okay? What came with that was stuff like, if you're sad, she could kind of pick up on your emotional state in the moment and she'd sit beside you like a guardian. If someone was getting loud in her presence, she would be like standing at attention. Like, okay, letting you know I'm on high alert. What's going on here? Because I got kids in the room. What's up? Is it about to be a brawl? Is it about to be, do we have a problem? Sansa was that girl. I remember one time, and this is a story I'm telling that I might regret later. But here goes. Don't make me regret telling y'all this, okay? When Anne was about 4, there was an event that happened, an accident that happened here at the house, which let us know that she was about to be the type of autism that elopes, okay? So one day, I don't know if I was in the shower or something in the bathroom. I don't know if I was on the toilet or in the shower, but I was in the bathroom. We didn't have the house rigged up for escape artists and things because this is the first time that Anne did this, so we didn't know yet. And the neighbor came in and knocked on the door, and I ran down and went to the door, and she was telling me that Anne had got out of the house and was at the park on the corner. Now, our house sits in a subdivision that is almost like a gated community because there's only one way in and one way out. It's gated off all around the perimeter of the subdivision. You can only get in and out on 2 streets, okay? So the park is nestled at the end of that fenced in thing. And the woman was like, I'm so sorry, I would have grabbed her and brought her home, but you guys, this dog is out and she won't let anyone get near her. Sansa had developed a perimeter around Anne in the freaking playground. And Anthony would go get Anne from the park at the end of the block. When he got down there, he described to me what he saw. Apparently, Sansa had backed Anne into a corner of the playground, like where the fence meets, and was just sitting there at attention facing outward. And Anne was just like oblivious, just having a ball playing in the little corner that Sansa created. And she was just sitting there looking straight ahead. And then as soon as Anthony pulled up, she took off towards him, almost like she was telling him, Anne is here. He grabbed Anne and brought her home. That's the type of dog Sansa was. Okay, I had to change the battery. We actually just got back from a trip just this past weekend, and the timing was kind of like what we thought was perfect. We're like, oh, we'll get away for a couple days. It'll take our mind off everything. And stuff like that does help with healing. And we didn't think of Sansa at all while we were there. I mean, we thought of her a couple times. I mean, she's on my screensaver here, so I did, you know, continue seeing her, but I wasn't sad, you know. I thought I was making progress. In a lot of ways I probably was, but I said that to say this. Once we got back home and walked through that front door, everything just came crashing down again. I feel like I took 1 step forward and 2 steps back because, you know, we were so used to her greeting us when we came back, or even if she wasn't there when we came back, we always had to think about, oh, we got to pick her up from Dad's house, or we got to pick her up from the pet hotel. And that was not the case this time, and it really hit hard. I remember crying later that evening Yeah, I remember crying later that evening thinking about that. And it just kind of like the grief just kind of came crashing down on me again. And one night I was up and, you know, feeling grief stricken, and I decided to do a little research on pet grief because I just couldn't believe I was feeling like this. And like I said, I had a lot of guilt and embarrassment inside, right? Because I'm like, why am I feeling like this about a dog? What is going on? So I went on YouTube and I found like this psychiatrist that does content around like pet grief. And in 5 minutes of watching the video, y'all, I felt so validated in how I was feeling. It made me feel so much better, so I could like focus on healing and getting better and getting rid of all of that shame for feeling the way I was feeling. So it definitely helped me. It also put things in perspective and helped me to kind of rationalize what I was feeling so that I could help myself and get better. I shared some of what I learned with Anthony, and it helped him as well. But I knew he was going to take it hard because he's the one who had to take her to the clinic for the euthanasia. I didn't go. So I knew it was going to hit him harder, but I also knew he's never lost a dog either. And here's the thing, y'all, I have owned a pet before, but I've never seen the end of that pet, okay? The first dog I ever owned where was my dog was a pit bull when we lived in the city, and it was a condo association type of thing, but we were renting, and they found out about the pit and told me I had to get rid of it. It was either the pit goes or I go. So I rehomed her, which is one of the most terrible things you can do to a dog, but I had no choice because my livelihood was at stake, and I kept her as long as I could get away with it. And I was at my end with it, and it was either you go or the dog. So I did have to rehome her. So that was not the same thing as like me having to put her down. And the same thing with Anthony. You know, he's had dogs growing up and everything, but they were like his parents' dogs. They were never his dogs, and he never had to see one die. So I am just here to tell you, pet grief is very, very real. And I was not aware. I was more of a skeptic of pet grief. I always just thought it would be sad and it'd be unfortunate, but you move on. It doesn't work like that. I don't foresee myself moving on anytime soon. There are ways to cope and to get through life and to continue to thrive, but that hurt, that void is still there, and it's still very painful. The psychiatrist that I was looking at, he had mentioned that one way people do cope with the grief is by getting another dog, but he does not recommend you do it right away. You do have to sit in your discomfort and your pain for a little while, and you should, in order to heal. It would be the same thing if you were swimming in the ocean and you got cut on some coral reef and you split your foot open, right? You need to heal that foot. You can go swimming again, but you have to heal that foot. Imagine just getting up and going right back into the salt water and just destroying your foot like that. You do need to give it some time, and then you can go back in. So that's how I'm kind of feeling about the dog thing. Anthony is kind of a big dog in the breeding community in Chicago. So people contact him, like he always knows about new litters, you know, and things like that. So he did get contacted recently about a new litter, and I told him, no, we're not ready yet. Hun, you're still staying up at night looking at her pictures. I'm still crying in the shower. We do not need to do this right now. We need to give it some more time. So if you guys have any tips on what that time period looks like, or what it looks like for you, I know it's different for everyone, but please share it with me because I'm trying to see something, you know? They say like that void is a part of you that's filled with love that you have nowhere to place it. It's just like displaced love, and it's just sitting on your heart, and that's part of the weight. And once you get another dog, you're able to, you know, disperse that love to something new. And it's not like, oh, just give that love to your kids. No, it's a pet love. It's in its own separate little chamber in your heart. But yeah. She was my girl though. She was always by my side whenever I was doing some crazy projects, cleaning out the garage, painting walls, trying to build something, trying to set up some decorations for a family get together. Sansa was always right next to me. So it's so weird now doing anything around this house knowing that she's not here. What I am proud of about us is that we were not one of those pet owners that simply took it too far, right? With her condition, with her suffering. We did not wait until she was until she couldn't walk. She just sort of wasted away and starved to death. Because that was one of the things that the vet told us. She was eating so little because the tumor was putting pressure on her stomach. That was part of the reason she was losing weight. And if we kept this up, she would essentially starve to death because she'd be so nutrient deficient that she would just have organ failure. I was proud of us for making the right decision for Sansa, but it was still very hard knowing that your choice, that you had to make the choice to end the life of a furry family member. That's the part that weighs on you. And I was going online and seeing what other people were saying in the different chat groups and stuff, and I am not alone in that. Almost all Mastiff owners have to make a choice at some point to put their Mastiff down. They all suffer from very similar stuff, bone issues, cancers, and they've all said the same thing. Like, they had to make the choice to put the dog down, and then they had to deal with all the grief, and they had to deal with all the guilt that came later, because you always feel like, well, maybe they had another week, maybe they had another month, but it is up to you. You're their parent. It's up to you to decide how much suffering they need to go through. We couldn't tell to what degree of pain she was experiencing, but we could definitely tell her quality of life was plummeting. Dogs, they just want nothing more than to please their owners. That's their whole life. It's you. You're the center of their life. So even if they're in pain, they're gonna try to please you, right? When they see you, they're gonna try to wag their tail even if it hurts. They're gonna try to jump on you. They're gonna try to lick you even if it hurts. And that's what I know about dogs, and that's what I know about Sansa, and I just didn't want that for her. It was killing me to see her suffering. But I know you guys loved her. I know you guys loved seeing her. I have shared so many moments here on this channel with you all as it relates to Sansa's journey in life. I remember sharing when we first got her. When we got her, she was already like a bigger puppy. How old was she when we got her? She was a couple months old, and she was all clumsy, and she had the floppy ears and everything, and she was just so eager to come to her new home, And Anne was little. Anne was Ava's age when we got Sansa, and so they grew up together. I remember it went from Anne being bigger than Sansa to Sansa being bigger than Anne, and then Anne being bigger than Sansa. And then I shared with you guys when she had a litter of her own. She had 9 puppies, and 1 didn't make it, so 8 survived, and they were champs. We had every color of the spectrum. And I think it was because Sansa was a reverse brindle. So they say with those types of coats, they can produce any coat. So Sansa had a Formentino. She had a reverse brindle. She had a regular brindle. She had a couple blues. She had every color. And they were so beautiful, and we are still in touch with those puppies. All of them are still thriving and living well. One of them is a guy who owned a protein shop around our house that we would always go to, so we would see her. They named the puppy Emma, so we would always see Emma, and she was bigger than Sansa. She actually had gotten really huge. So we're still able to see updates and things of her puppies, so I am really grateful for that. I do regret that we didn't keep one. I did not want to take away from the attention that we would give Sansa, but you guys were so invested in that era of Sansa's life. But that was just such a joyous time in our lives, and that was my first time ever being a little immature breeder, and it was amazing of an experience. It really was. Remember when we first named her, and I told you guys that her name was Sansa, and it was the character from the original Game of Thrones, and then we just ended up out of nowhere calling her Sansa Girl. I think I started calling her that because as she started growing up, she started giving me diva vibes. She started having her little attitudes, and she was having all this personality and just really being the woman of the house. She was this was her house. So I started calling her Sansa Girl, and it just caught on, and everybody started calling her Sansa Girl. So that became her official name. Her name was Sansa Girl. She was loved by everybody in the neighborhood. I haven't even really told all of our neighbors yet, so I'm gonna have to tell them that. And that be the hard part, y'all. Having to tell people that Sansa passed away, that's the hard part. And I just dread even letting those words come out of my mouth, because I'm still kind of processing it. Where I am today, though, I feel like I've come a long way. A lot of the hardest part of the grieving, I think, is behind us. I think it is. Like I said, coming back from our trip kind of hit hard, because I thought I was further along my healing journey than I actually was. But that's okay, because we're just taking it one day at a time. I am utilizing the power of therapy and the things that I've learned in terms of self-help and self-care. So I've been taking good care of my mental health and my physical health. Running has been a godsend for me, because when I'm out there running and I'm in nature and I'm experiencing that adrenaline and I'm moving my body, it makes it more difficult to be sad, because you're just feeling so good because you're exercising. So that has helped, you know, staying active. I know at some point I'm going to be able to go and tackle my patio stuff, but right now I'm just so emotionally drained that I don't really have the energy to do it. But also being in the yard by myself doing it is going to affect me. So I'm just avoiding it for now, because I got to take care of myself. And I can't just be torturing myself doing different tasks that I know are going to break me, you know. And that's the other thing that I learned from that psychiatrist, is like, you have to not get rid of, but remove out of sight your pet's belongings. And I did do that. I didn't get rid of everything. I didn't even really do anything. I just put everything in a laundry basket and set the laundry basket to the side. So that way I'm not like opening cabinets and running into Sansa's things and then going through a meltdown. It's all in one place. So if I go and choose to rummage through it, I'm signing up for that, versus stumbling across things and having an emotional moment when I didn't expect to. You get what I'm saying? So I took that psychiatrist's advice and just moved everything to one area. But we're not gonna be getting rid of her stuff. I don't know if I mentioned this. We're going to be putting things in storage, because we are going to be getting another dog, and it's going to be another Cane Corso, because that's the only breed I want. It is my favorite breed. It's the only breed I'll ever have. Probably, I'm saying that now, but yeah, that's how I feel right now. So we're gonna be using those items, and we're not gonna get rid of them. We're not gonna be getting another dog too soon, but we are gonna be getting another dog. So before I get out of here, I just really wanna thank all of you, stop it Ava, for all of the kind words on my Instagram post, on my Facebook post, and on my YouTube Shorts post. You guys have really shown me so much empathy, so much care, and I really appreciate you guys. You always show up for me, and that's what I do know about my audience. I just had no idea. I knew I had to tell y'all, but I did not know that so many other people had the same journey as me. I didn't know it was so many of you, right? I knew it would be some of you, but I didn't know it would be so many of you. You guys poured in by the thousands to let me know that you are either going through it or have gone through it. I thank y'all so much for that community, because that's what this is all about. And you guys have helped me so much in this healing journey, and I appreciate it. So I hope I did answer you guys' questions. Make no mistake, I felt obligated. I felt that it was my duty to come on here and tell you guys what happened, because of the fact that I didn't bring you guys along the journey as we were going through it. I just couldn't, y'all. I just couldn't. I couldn't tell y'all, hey, we found this tumor. When you guys were commenting, is Sansa pregnant? I couldn't tell you guys, you know, that there was a tumor. I couldn't tell you guys that Sansa was declining. I just didn't know how to talk about it. And even this sit down right now was so difficult for me to even just like get started to tell you guys about what was going on. I just had so many different emotions. I had guilt. I had thoughts of, we've done this wrong. We've messed up, you know, like we're horrible pet owners. We let her get sick, you know, like I was having all these feelings that I didn't know what to do with, and I didn't want to navigate that in front of the camera. We just decided to deal with it in private. So I hope you guys can forgive me for not letting y'all know. And I'm sure you can think of a time that you didn't come forward on social media about something you were struggling with in private, because you wanted to get a full grasp on it first before you opened it up for the world to have their opinions and to have their questions asked. So I know I'm not the only one who moves like this, but that is the reason I didn't tell y'all. So I hope you guys can forgive me. But I think I'm going to end this video here and tend to my little children. Ava wants me, she needs me. And I will see you guys next week. I do want to share some of my experience in Aruba with my 25th, hold on Ava, shh, shh, shh. I do want to share with you guys a quick trip. Ava, I'm sorry, come on, come on. Mommy's sorry, come here, come here. It's okay, it's okay. By the time you guys see this video, it'll be Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. And I will talk to you guys in my next video next week, because I do want to share some of my experience in Aruba on the trip we just came back from. So I will be chatting with you guys then. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much. Come on, let's go get in.